Here now to help us break all of this down, political analyst and partner at Builders Movement, Stephen Olikara, joining us now. Stephen, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. You know, now we have these investigations into Walz, Fry for allegedly impeding law enforcement efforts. Their reaction has been, this is intimidation. This is weaponization of the Justice Department. We know at the same time, the First Amendment, it does do a great deal to protect political speech. Are these investigations more symbolic, or do you expect some real-life consequences here?
I think they're symbolic and political, but we have to look at these scenes here, both on the ground in Minnesota as well as in the legal courtrooms, which is we're seeing American politics really devolve into a war zone. And it doesn't have to be that way. In the case of, we've heard President Trump talking about potentially invoking the Insurrection Act. I guess he's walked back from that more recently, and that's a good thing. And what we're seeing Minnesotans do is engage in protest. That's not an insurrection. This is what protest that's mostly peaceful looks like. What happened on January 6th, 2021, that is more what an insurrection looks like. So we need that type of distinction, nuance in the conversation. And ultimately, these warlike scenes that we're seeing are the result of Congress and multiple administrations not passing comprehensive immigration reform that puts in place a thoughtful, humane solution to the more than 10 million people who are here in this country without documentation. And that is the ultimate solution. And without that, we're continuing to see the polarization, division, and ultimately warlike politics that we see in America.
Yeah, and then, you know, the other side arguing that under the Biden administration, all of these people being let into the country, that has led to a lot of these issues that we're dealing with right now. But I want to get your take on this, because I do absolutely want to talk about the politics with you, Stephen. We had on another network, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. He talked about these investigations. Here's a bit of what he had to say.
When the governor or the mayor threaten our officers, when the mayor suggests that he's encouraging citizens to call 911 when they see ICE officers, that is very close to a federal crime.
So, if nothing else, do you think these investigations, highlighting some of the comments coming from these political leaders, justifies the president or potentially sets him up for instituting the Insurrection Act as he's threatened? And what do you believe will be the net effect of making that call ultimately?
Well, I think, first of all, and what we heard the Deputy Attorney General talk about is partly something that I agree with, which is there has been a lot of anti-ICE sentiment. This is an extremely divisive and polarizing issue. You have anti-ICE sentiment paralleling with a lot of dehumanization of illegal immigrants in this country. And so I think if we continue to see more scenes like what we're seeing right now on screen, I think President Trump has a bias towards squashing that kind of unrest. And I do think it moves him closer to potentially invoking the Insurrection Act. But it really is a continuation of what we're seeing right now with the deployment of not only ICE, but also the federal guard in many states across the country. You know, there's a film last year that came out, or in 2024 came out, called Civil War, that imagines a second American Civil War. And honestly, it was scenes that kind of look like this. And I think that should be alarming to all Americans.
Well, I do want to drill in on the politics with you, because obviously this is a glaring piece of this story. And I really enjoyed your interview with Batya when you talked about how important it is to move beyond politics, especially in these scenarios, and truly work to find some common ground. You know, yet before a full investigation into the shooting death of Renee Good, which seemed to have sparked much of this activity, we did have both sides with some pretty bold claims that Good was engaged in domestic terrorism, that she was murdered unjustifiably. Those were the narratives from both sides. Do you believe at this hour it's possible to take the temperature down as the administration continues this deportation mission that they've set out to complete?
I think it's possible. It's definitely very hard in this context. As you point out, you had statements from both the Minneapolis mayor as well as from President Trump and other key administration officials that are inflaming the situation. On the mayor's part, when he talks about saying, get the F out of Minneapolis in terms of ICE, that is creating a lot of anti-ICE sentiment against individuals who, some of the folks you see on screen right now, they're just, many of them are trying to do the best that they can. They're human beings too, so let's not dehumanize them. And then likewise, all the statements that President Trump has made. I think we do need leadership right now that elevates the conversation. And I work with a lot of young, rising political leaders, and they often ask me, how is it possible to be thoughtful and elevating of a conversation while still cutting through? And more recently, I'll point to examples like Governor Spencer Cox in Utah, who spoke out in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And he really did elevate the conversation and really spoke to the human emotions that people are feeling and what we can concretely do. I think the type of statements that spin a very tough situation into hating people, that's what we need less. The type of statements that help us channel our frustration and anger towards concrete solutions, that's what we need more.
Well, and I think he was so successful in keeping the humanity, as you said, Stephen, front and center there. It's something we could all use a little bit more of in the country, really on both sides. And I appreciate you highlighting it. Stephen Olikara, thank you very much for weighing in.
Thank you for having me.